everybody? Coach Trevor here. So today in this video, we're gonna go over the barbell back squat. And this is just a quick video. There's a whole bunch of other tiny details that you can probably go over, break people's technique down. But this is just gonna be a general coaching cues on how I will explain it to the class. I'm gonna go in greater detail on this video, but when you yourself or you're teaching the class, I want you to just focus on picking one or two things and just hitting it real fast, right? It shouldn't take you longer than a minute to explain a barbell back squat. And then when you actually break into the class, you can actually work with them more individually. And if it takes longer than a minute to explain the barbell back squat to someone, they probably haven't mastered the kettlebell goblet squat that they need to, okay? So before they even jump to the barbell back squat, they need to at least, bare minimum, they have the prerequisite of, if you're a male, goblet squatting a 53-pound kettlebell, right? All the way down for 5 sets for 10 reps. With women, at least 5 sets of 10 reps with a 35-pound kettlebell, all right? Basically, because the men's bar is 45 pounds, female's bar is 35 pounds, or 16 kilograms, or 20 kilograms. So we're gonna start off with the upper back, right, the back rack. So when it comes to positioning for the back rack in ideal or optimal position, everyone's gonna be a little bit different, but ideally we want them to get to these standards, is that you wanna make a W with this, all right? So with the elbow line, you want your elbows as close as you possibly can to your side, right? Engage your lats when you're in this back rack position. Elbows nice and tight, okay? They're not flared up like this. They're not excessively forward here. So they're down, staying nice and tight, close, and then ideally in line with the body or with the torso when we're hitting this back squat. And also the line right here is that you want the thumb to be on the outside of the hand, okay? You don't want the thumb or the forearm to be vertical like this, because then you start losing tension. So there's this optimal position, this W, where you can create max tension in your upper back as you hit the back rack, because if they're not having that maximum contraction, that maximum tension, when they get down to the bottom position like this, and they start rounding forward here, there's, for one, spine changes position, and then people have the tendency of having their hips come up, and then they do like this weird squat where it puts a lot of stress on the lower back, and we don't want that ever. So the optimal position is gonna be here. If they don't have the shoulder mobility for it, or even the stability, like they have shoulder pain, they need to go wider, for one. All right, and then two, if they don't even have the mobility for it, they need to go wider. But ideally, you want us to get closer and closer and closer, start opening up that upper back. There's other mobility exercises we can hit with the lacrosse ball, right? TRXWs, that type of stuff, for like external rotation, that portion of it. But that's a different conversation. But also keep in mind that maximum contraction, optimal position is gonna be in this W position, less tension, and then less tension, right? So we want to be right in here and coach them in that position. So when they're setting up, make sure that the grip is symmetrical on both sides, right? Make sure they're not offset. They're gonna go underneath the barbell. And when they come up underneath the barbell, they're gonna retract their shoulder blades and then shrug their shoulders up, so it kind of hits, so the bar's resting on their upper traps. And this variation is more of a high bar back squat, and we'll talk about jumping into a low bar back squat as well, or what the difference is. So on this, they're creating max tension, they're gripping the bar, their wrists are nice and straight, the wrists are not bent back like this, okay? So they don't have bent wrists, not weak wrists. You want them to be able to create tension with the bar, and that tension is gonna radiate all throughout their body. So it starts with the back rack. So good tension here, retract the shoulder blades, they're gonna grip the floor, they're in a squat stance, they're gonna take a breath, they're bracing, so they're actually acting like they're about to pick up the bar, like actually squatting it, they're gonna pick it up, boom, step back once, and now they're in their set stance, okay? If they need to adjust a little bit, they can adjust a little bit, but same thing from here. Shoulders are retracted back, they're shrugging up, so the bar's not just resting on their spine. I'm not losing tension here like this. You wanna keep that tension that you created on the rack when you're picking it up. So from here, draw on your belly button. Breathe in. Draw on your belly button, get your rib cage down, squeeze your glutes, and contract your lats, right? So you're creating tension, maximum tension here. I'm gripping the floor with my feet. My hips are gonna go back first, about 1 inch, inch and a half, and then drive those knees out and do your best to feel the bar in the middle of the feet, all right? Keeping tension on those lower abs, rib cage down, boom, exhale on the way up. So what I like to do, just as a general coaching cue, everyone's gonna be a little bit different, but you're gonna breathe in, abs on tight, hold that breath on the way down, boom, coming down, and then exhale, 50% on the way out. Don't exhale all out. And of course, I like the hissing motion just because it tells me that people are engaged in their abs. It's impossible to hiss without engaging your stomach. So it tells me that they're breathing right and they're breathing at the right positions and right opportunities. And of course, when we're hitting these squats, my hips go back at the same time, right? My hips and torso rise up at the same time. They go down at the same time as well. The weight's in the midfoot. I'm not shifting forward. I'm not like this. And the bar is not outside the midfoot line. So driving up, standing tall, squeezing the glutes. So just from a side profile, this part of the barbell can tell you a lot about someone's back squat. So if it's going straight up and down, if it's in line with the middle of their foot right here, especially when they're at the bottom position, right, that's an ideal position for the high bar back squat. You don't want it being too far back like this, right? It means they're shifting too far back here like this. You want to get some quad engagement as well, and making sure that their heels aren't coming off the ground and the bar's not shifting forward. If the bar's shifting forward, stress goes to the lower back. We don't want that. It also tells us if they lack ankle mobility or even possibly some stability as well with their hips or lower back, because the body won't let them get to that position. Also, we'll have to just see how they squat. So if they can keep their torso more vertical, right, then they can probably hit a barbell, high bar back squat with the barbell. If they have more of like a hinge dominant squat where they're hitting a lot of hammies like this, which isn't wrong, their back squat's gonna be a little bit different. That's gonna be the low bar back squat, and that's gonna be hammies and glutes, not nearly as much quads. So when we're watching people, typically like 80% of the time is when people are squatting. I'm seeing someone squat for the first time, the lower back changes position, always, all right? So what you're gonna have to do is you have them step away from the barbell. For one, if they have a lot of load and their back's changed position, stop them right away. Like, there's no need for them to keep squatting. You basically need to regress them back to the kettlebell or just body weight. Have them go in front of a mirror, hit a side profile so they're breathing and bracing, right? If you guys are the mirror, I'd be watching it the whole time. Hips are going back, drive those knees out. And if the back is overarching excessively, right, or if it's rounding at all, I would pause before it starts to round, adjust it, create tension, get nice and tight, and then come out of it. All right, and that's more of like a motor control portion of it. They need to be aware and they need to be able to feel when their back changes position. So if they're not able to feel that and if they're just like, uncertain, like what the heck is going on, they haven't earned the right to use the barbell, okay? Just because barbell is a phenomenal tool. You can get super, super strong, like probably one of the best ways to get really strong with it, just in general, just by using the barbell, just because you can add the excessive load. But if you don't have the mobility for it or the stability for it, they have no business using it, right? Master the basics first before you jump into the barbell back squat, all right? So this is the high bar variation of it. I'll probably go into greater detail in another video about a low bar back squat.